Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Giorgia Picocco. I'm a senior EU Public Affairs Manager for Huawei in Europe, where I also have the honor to lead on the sustainability agenda, being social and environmental. We're here to discuss the acceleration of green innovation, and we want to talk about solutions. At Huawei, we have decided to go with skills and digitalization, but we know there are many more that can really accelerate green innovation. So we will hear from all the speakers here today different ways, different hows, different whys. But first, we also want to use this opportunity to talk about something that is very dear to my heart, which is skills, reskilling and upskilling, and talent development. We have conducted some work this year to develop a new classification on green digital skills, and we are here to hear from some of the people who have been leading this work together with Huawei. And first, without further ado, I would like to welcome on stage Dr. Barbara Botos, who is the Ambassador at Large for Climate from the Ministry of Energy of Hungary, to give her welcome remarks.
Thank you so much. I hope can you hear me okay? Yes. Yep. I hope I'm going to give you some fruits for thought with some provoking ideas in the beginning. You know, the classical energy dilemma is triple: affordability, energy security, and the third is sustainability. However, now we are increasing number 4, which is the increase of electricity demand. Why? Because we are entering into an era of digitalization. We are electrifying mobility. We are electrifying heating systems, and we have exponentially increasing use of cooling energy, which also uses a lot of electricity. So this is number 4 challenge. And I'm coming from Hungary, so I come from Europe, but developed European industry was based for decades on cheap Russian energy. And this cheap energy is over. A new global phenomena are appearing. One of them, globalization. Next one, nearshoring, not offshoring anymore, nearshoring or onshoring. The direction of capital is turning. The direction of energy is turning. Like in Europe, classically it used to be from east to west. Now we have to have pressure for energy to flow from west to east. But we also have raw material nationalism, just to give another provoking thought to you. Like the European Union is right now working on the Critical Raw Material Act, which means 10% of extraction of raw material in Europe, 40% of processing, and 25% of recycling in Europe. And we are getting rid of red tape. The permitting process is going to reduce so that we could a little bit have sustainable provision of critical raw materials in Europe. And new blocks are arising. Look at BRICS, the extended BRICS. Look at the Bay of Gulf, or let's have a look at the Southern Eastern European Asian countries who are blocking together. The question is energy crisis over? Or did we really change our dependency, or we changed one dependency for another? How can technology and innovation help it? We are living in an era of polycrisis, and you know, the nature of crisis is that it's coming in waves. So we shouldn't lean back, we should be ready. How can we be ready? By saying that the color of energy is green, and not stopping by saying that. The color of energy is green, but it only gets meaning if you can store it. So energy storage is going to be the next problem, and I hope you are going to talk about that as well. And last but not least, when new technologies come, people have a lot of fear, and we have to deal with fear. It doesn't matter what I'm talking about. It doesn't really. What matters is who is listening to me. Are those people who are exposed to new things, new technologies, which might be dangerous, are they sitting here what comes first for them? The first issue, security. Second, security. Third, security. And then number 4, 5, 6, we can talk about many other things, but we need to talk to people who face something they have never faced before. NIMBY, not in my backyard. Now these technologies are in our backyard, and we have to talk to people about the safety as well of this technology. For example, artificial intelligence. And my last speaking point is that, you know, we are connected. Everything is connected with everything else, as the famous American ecologist said. So this interconnectedness is very relevant for industry. Each segment of industry has to develop in a parallel fashion. If one segment is lagging behind, the rest cannot develop. So interconnectedness also means developing together. I do hope I gave you some fruits for talk and some hope for the discussion that we have to talk about it, but remember, we have to talk to those people as well for whom these issues matter. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Barbara. And really, we always say at Huawei, passion unlocks potential. And I'm very proud to call on stage our next speaker, Vicky Zhang, who is the Vice President of Corporate Communications at Huawei, and who I'm honored to call my colleague.
Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, please allow me to send another welcome to you at this session at COP28 to discuss the green innovation. And also thank you, Barbara. You gave a remarkable, opening statement. And I totally agree with you that although we have a lot of progress on the Paris Agreement, but more challenges are in front of us. And we need solutions, and we need actions. We need actions. And also the climate change, pollutions, and less resources are reminding us actions must be taken faster than before to realize a sustainable future for next generation. So to bring this vision to reality, one of the most powerful tools are innovation. We all agree that innovation has the potential to entirely change the way we live, we work, and the interaction with the environment. But however, where does the innovation come from? So as a starter, we should recognize that the skills and talent are the key power to drive the technology innovation. And following this logic, so today we're very proud to announce we have a new report that names Twin Skills for the Twin Transition, defining green digital skills and jobs. The report was co-worked by Huawei Athena Research Center, Sustainable Development Union under AE4Real, and also under the leadership of Professor Phoebe, and also PwC. The report focused on developing a new classification for green skill that will define the causes of action to reskill and upskill people, to build and spread net zero technology that needed to achieve the Paris Agreement objectives. And our dear friend Phoebe will briefing you details about the report in the next session. And Huawei has always taken the education and provide trainings very seriously. Since 2008, we roll out our flagship program named Seeds for the Future. And until now, it's active and run in 150 countries. And 2.2 million young people has already benefited from this program through scholarship, competition, and also providing the technical trainings. And as an example, our ICT Academy has collaboration with more than 2,600 universities globally. And these are the joint efforts to providing skills to people. And today, we need to add the green skills into the session and into all the courses to more people. So in the green digital era, where we see the increased need for a faster energy transition, just as you mentioned, just the European Union alone will need more than 1 million solar workers to restore the higher renewable energy target by 2030. And from the everyday business side, such opportunities will also mostly relevant to installing PV. So as Huawei, we're also a player in this area. We already increasing this kind of training for the local talent, especially the installers. In this year, in 2023, we already provided more than 1,000 training sessions to tens of thousands of installers globally. And from the R&D side, we are investing cutting-edge technologies to driving breakthrough development on sustainability technology. And last year, the investment into research and development of Huawei has achieved the highest rate. That's the 25% of the company's total revenue. The path to sustainable future lies on our hand. So we must emphasize that the education, collaboration, research, and let everyone join the efforts towards a sustainable future. That's a key to a digital transition. And for the digital skills, my wishes to all is never stop learning, never stop exploring, never stop challenging, and please never stop growing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vicky. And now let me call on stage Professor Phoebe Konduri, who really doesn't need an introduction, but she will walk us through the findings of this work that we have done together.
Thank you, Barbara, for your amazing, provocative, but not so much thoughts, because as chair of the UN Sustainable Development Solutions Network Global Climate Hub, we work on each one of them. And I think that you summarized the main points that we need to accelerate, the main focus of our acceleration if something is going to really change, if we are going to achieve the transformations that we need. Thank you very much for having me here. It has been a huge pleasure working with Huawei. It has been a journey to find the road towards retrieving the answer for the very crucial question, I think one of the most crucial questions for this transformation: what will be the jobs that will create the capacity for the transition, for the green and digital transition to actually take place. 85% of the jobs that will exist in 2030 haven't been invented yet. And we all know that in order to achieve a transition, it's not just a transition, it's a transformation, we need social cohesion. No big transformation can be achieved in conflict. We need cooperation, collaboration, and social cohesion. And in order to have social cohesion, you need stakeholder engagement. And in order to engage the stakeholders, you need to give them, to empower them with the capacity to be engage in the transformation. And this means you need to empower them with the skills and knowledge to become co-designers of the transformation, to become owners of the transformation, to become stakeholders of the transformation. And in order to do that, you need education, vocational training, upskilling and reskilling. And this is what we try to uncover through our research with Highway. So, I lead this Alliance of Excellence for Research and Innovation on IFORIA. Very quickly, this is an alliance of research and innovation centers, innovation accelerators, science policy networks, and science associations and academies that bring together a lot of resources and a lot of researchers working on the sustainability transition. First, we measure ESG, SDG performance and work on sustainable pathways, then financing pathways, then we work on climate neutrality and resilience pathways, seas and ocean pathways, water, food, energy nexus pathways, and of course, innovation, acceleration, education, upskilling, and reskilling. And it's the last thematic that really covers the work that we do with Highway. In order to understand what kind of jobs and skills we need to understand where our direction. Our direction is very explicitly defined in the 17 SDGs, UN Agenda 2030, 17 SDGs, 169 targets, 250 KPIs. Every year we measure the performance of each and every country across these targets and KPIs. And not only that, but we downscale from global to regions of the world, for example, European, and then from European to country level, and then from country level to cities level and regions within nations level, and then we are even able to downscale to company level. So measuring the performance against the SDGs is important, but because this is the only global agenda at the moment. Together with the Charter of UN Human Rights, there is no other global agreement. We have 163 countries agreeing to implement these SDGs. So this is the general policy framework. Our report, and you can find it here, is more focused on Europe, but it also elaborates beyond Europe. But let us focus on Europe first. So we have a very detailed and explicit description of the green and digital European policies. The flagship policy is, of course, the European Green Deal. And within that European Green Deal, we find the aspects of green, digital, industrial policy, just transition policy. And we bring together all these policies in order to sketch what is needed in terms of jobs and skills to implement these policies. So let me go very quickly. This is how we are doing in terms of implementing the SDGs. Not good enough. We are on the blue line and the projection on the dotted blue line. We need to increase our pace of implementation seriously. We need to be on the green line. And the darker blue means higher implementation. The lighter blue means lower implementation. And we do that at different scales. Europe, Greece, we do this for every country of the world. Subnational regions within Greece, we do this for every country in the world. And we can also map and identify the SDG content in trade. So for example, we can tell you how much of the deforestation of Brazilian forests is really attributed to goods and products that are produced, that are consumed in Europe. So we can measure what is going on with regards to the SDGs. And we also know exactly with a global stock stage how much of our pledges with regards to climate change is actually being implemented. So these are the global policies, the layer of SDG 13, and the relevant global pledges, and then we go to Europe. This is how we treat the data in this report. European Green Deal for access become climate neutral by 2050, zero pollution, clean tech leadership by European companies, leave no one behind, just transition. We have 1 trillion supporting this. And in addition to this 1 trillion, for the different aspects of the European green policies, we have Next Generation EU that was launched after COVID to help Europe recover from COVID in a green and digital way. And there is where green and digital was explicitly identified. So what does green and digital future mean? A green and digital future means that we invest in decarbonizing power generation and industry, promoting circular economy, protecting and restoring biodiversity, and strengthening sustainable mobility. What is digital? Improve cybersecurity, deploy cutting-edge technologies, helping deploy digital skills, and improving connectivity. So these are the skills we need to empower our labor force in order to implement the green and digital transition. And to further articulate the transition, Europe has a climate law, the first time that the obligation to become climate neutral by 2050 is now a legal obligation. 55% reduction of greenhouse gas emissions compared to what we had in 1990, and climate neutrality 2050. In addition, we have the streamlining of capital towards sustainable investment. This is the EU taxonomy. The EU taxonomy says, I will give you a cheap loan if your investment is about climate mitigation, adaptation, sustainable use of water, sustainable use of oceans, circular economy, and pollution control. And not only that, you also have the Corporate Sustainability Directive that obliges big companies to submit a sustainability report that is very detailed in the informational requirement, and it is also monitored and assessed and digitally tagged. So in this kind of world, and with the Fit for 55, the 13 legislative proposals that are refining the regulation across Europe with regards to the energy system, the ETS, the land use and forest system, mobility, cars, vans, aviation, shipping. Most of them have been voted in 2023, so now these are legal requirements. We have a big framework, a big regulatory, legal, and policy framework, which basically tells us what are the skills and occupations that we need in order to implement. And together with the green and digital policies, you need to add the digital policies of Europe. We have a Digital Service Act, a Digital Market Act, European Chips Act, European Digital Identity, Artificial Intelligence, European Data Strategy, Space Strategy, European Defense Strategy, EU-US Trade and Technology Strategy, and we also have Destination Earth Initiative, which is about creating a digital twin with regards to the human effects on natural environment, which basically allows us to simulate the green and digital transition on the environment. And we also have the industrial policy that is focusing on accelerating the twin transitions. So what we did, we put together all these policies in an AI-driven, data-driven method, and we've identified the new set of green and digital skills. These are the policies we've considered. We did it for all sectors in an aggregated mode. We did it by sector: agri, forestry, fishing, construction, energy, ICT, manufacturing, transport, water treatment. And we also identified the explicit skills that we are needing, green and digital, and then combine those skills into solid occupations for the future. So we have a holistic map of what we are going to be needing in order to implement all the policies that I've shown you before. So it's a data-driven framework that allows us to classify skills, knowledges, occupations in the EU labor market. We find that the demand for occupations with a high green and digital score has significantly increased since 2015 in all sectors. The skills classified as the most digital and jointly most digital and green are the most demanded skills for all occupations, even today. And we also provide the recommendations for universities and for vocational training in order to fill the gap in the need for the green and digital skills and accelerate the transition. We use the European Skills, Competence, Qualifications and Occupations Framework. It's a huge data that basically classifies European skills, competences and knowledge concepts and provides relations between occupations and skills and knowledge, and basically allows you to use all this data to answer the question which skills and knowledge concepts are relevant for each of the occupations. Then what we we use the classifications and hierarchies provided by this database, and we develop a data-driven scoring model to classify occupations on their level of greenness, digitalization, and jointly greenness and digitalization. And we have an explicit ranking of the most needed occupations in the green sphere, in the digital sphere, and combined in the green and digital sphere. For example, smart home engineer, smart home installer, geothermal technician, green ICT consultant. But I will let you look at the report because it's very detailed in the data analysis. We also find that employment growth of green and digital skills is very strong, and we have a significant effect on employment growth in art and recreation sectors, finance and insurance, ICT, professional services, manufacturing, and energy supply services. We also do an analysis of the advertisements, current state of advertisements, job openings, and we find that the top green and digital skills and knowledge concepts are among the most requested skills in online job advertisements. So again, a second confirmation of the validity of the green and digital skills we have identified as the most wanted ones. Finally, the recommendations for universities and vocational training. We need our universities to restructure, to transform their curricula. They need to be more holistic, more integrated in order to support the sustainability transition, and they need to be more focused on the new jobs that are going to be created that are able to support and empower the green and digital transition. And we give recommendations by sector: the financial sector, mainstreaming ESGs and enhancing ESGs and SDG matrices. Energy sector, we need technical energy, knowledge on energy efficiency measures, on renewable energy technologies, on energy markets with regards to manufacturing, raw material collection, pre-processing, production, distribution, trade, sustainable business and product development, agriculture and food, again, many skills that need to be advanced, wastewater treatment, improved packaging, sensoring and process control, water and waste, water reduction, and so on. In the report, you will find the exact definition of all of these occupations. And in addition, we also provide recommendations with regards to specific skills. With regards to green skills, we need renewable energy expertise, energy efficiency, circular economy, environmental regulations, and with regards to digital skills, data analysis, Internet of Things, cybersecurity, AI, and machine learning. All is detailed in the report. I don't have time to explain in detail and communicate in detail the wealth of information there, but you can look at the report. It should be able to give you to scan the idea of the report, but I'll give the floor to Georgia, and I will come back with the technical use of this. I will fix it from the side.
Thank you very much, Phoebe. Thank you indeed. What an insightful work that we have conducted together. We have chosen skills, of course, as a way to accelerate green innovation, but it's not the only solution. It's not the only option we have, of course. It's at the base, skills and education. So let's now gather to our panel and discuss the different ways and the different solutions and ideas our panelists have on how to accelerate green innovation. Ladies first, I would like to start with Rea Marieni, who is a technical director at the Regenerative Foundation. The floor is yours to give us your pitch.
Thank you very much. I think there is a presentation with a video. If it is not on, I'm just going to start. So the Regenerative Society Foundation is a business-led foundation established in 2020 and by 19 companies, cross-sector companies, gathering together to doing what? To work on the basis of knowledge, technical competence, and efforts to change their core businesses and their business models, because this is what the ecological transition means. And to do so, you need skills, you need technology solutions, you need to pull together digital and green technologies. And this is one of the results I'm going to present. I'm going to present two solutions that we developed. One with a French medium-sized company, which is a strategic partner of Dassault Systèmes, which is a leading company in the provision of ecosystems and platforms, such as a famous space for the build-up of digital twins. I was coming with a video that is showing this amazing solution that we developed and is being implemented at the moment, right now, at the École Polytechnique, which is the largest polytechnical school in France. This digital twin is 70% less data heavy than comparable solutions. Why is that important? For the reasons that both Barbara and Phoebe and Huawei Vice President were mentioning. The huge energy and resource consumption related to the ICT sector. 4% currently of energy consumption is going to become 20% by 2040. We need to become extremely efficient. We do that, and I do say we, because the French company BeamCube is partnering with me for the development of this integrated system that is putting climate and environmental KPIs using European methodologies, the product environmental footprint and the organizational environmental footprint that are being developed with the European Commission over the past 14, 15 years. That's very important. The leadership role of the European Commission and Europe as a whole as trendsetter, standard setting. This is very important. Regulations drives innovation. So what do? We have this digital twin, which is taking care of not only mirroring the reality of the entire campus of the École Polytechnique, which is 22,000 square meters of buildings, hectares, and with a thoroughfares that brings together 150,000 people every day. This is a campus. This campus needs to be renovated energetically in terms of water consumption, resource consumption, from here up to 2026, under the Recovery Fund of France. Another thing that Phoebe was mentioning. The digital twin is managing this, mirroring the reality, predicting the reality, and anticipating the changes. And also, we integrated public procurement, and I'm going to be closing because all the other speakers need to speak as well. Public procurement right today, Barbara, the WTO announced the 10 points, regulations and suggestions for policies for changing the trade system to make it more sustainable. Among these points, there is public procurement and public procurement of innovation. 13 trillion a year are mobilized in public procurement. And this is the same thing that we're doing in Europe. I'm working also with DG Grow, the Director General for the internal market, to work on the 14-15% points of GDP that every year the European Union is committing to public procurement. So we transformed the way public procurement for the works, the renovation works, are going to be realized. This is a total budget of 350 million for the whole reconstruction, renovation of the old campus. And we put strongly environmental KPIs and climate KPIs at the center. The second and last solution is 3B, a member of our foundation, an app that monitors utilizing IoT, but low impact and emission IoT, fed by solar panels. Maybe, I know that Huawei has got a project in agriculture as well with an Austrian company, and maybe there is another connection there. They monitor the health of the bees. So, wrap it up. Sorry if it was confusing, maybe it's short. I'll let the others speak.
Thank you very much, Hervé. Always very innovative hearing from you. I mean, we talked about energy security, green procurement. Yes, please, you can scan the QR code here and get the white paper at your fingerprint. Now, let me turn to Gary Jacobs, who is the CEO and President of the World Academy of Art and Sciences. I would like to hear from you what's a solution to accelerate the green innovation.
Thank you. Do I have a presentation?
Can I please ask the technical team to get the presentations working? Thank you.
I need a...
Yes, the clicker. Yes, we have it.
Was it clear? Because I was...
All I need is the...
Because women
The clicker.
are perfectionists. You know, women always...
Yeah, I have
Okay,
the mic.
I'm happy
Just
because
to
I-
move the...
I just
that's
wanted
all.
to give
Thank you.
more.
Thank you.
And I sincerely mean that I wanted to...
My thanks to the organizers for choosing such an important
Thank you very much.
topic for addressing the challenges we face today. And the list of skills that we heard from Phoebe was really impressive, and how the composition of jobs is going to change and the composition of our workforce has to change. I think we understand that this is a tremendous challenge for education, tremendous challenge for the existing workforce and for the future. But that's not all we need in terms of skills. Just to put it for you in a little dramatic way, the recent statistics show that about 40% of the world's population is taking their news from social media today. And the same statistics show that the actual reliability rate of the information that's being projected on the social media is somewhere between 12 and 15%. So we have another challenge of skills. How far are we preparing ourselves and the younger generations to distinguish fact from fantasy, or what we call fake news? And how important is that for our success in implementing the 17 SDGs and the Agenda 2030? So I want to focus on another dimension of the skills challenge, or the communication challenge, and that is, how do we reach out to the vast majority of people on Earth who are not only going to be impacted by global warming, but are also going to be decision makers determining whether that global warming can be stopped or not, or whether we can mitigate it. And that is really a challenge. In the World Academy of Art and Science for 2 terms, we had the chairman of IPCC, former chairman of IPCC on our board, frequently bringing us up to date with the latest information on what the IPCC was projecting on climate change. And it was very intelligible to the scientists in the room, even the diplomats in the room. We understood the significance of that information. The question is, how far does the world understand it, and how far have we been able to formulate a language of communication that really draws that in? And we had an experience in the World Academy 3 years ago. We were invited by the United Nations Trust Fund on Human Security. The concept of human security has been projected by the Academy since 1995. And they asked us to do a survey of UN officials, diplomats, scientists, academies, parliamentarians, and NGOs on how effectively has the UN communicated the importance of human security and the things that need to be done in order to achieve it. And they were not necessarily surprised, but certainly disappointed to hear that after 25 years of campaigning, somewhere between 10 and 15% of those who were surveyed really had an understanding of this basic concept, which is something relevant to everybody on Earth. What is our human security, and how do we communicate it? And so they asked us to join with them in partnership to launch a campaign called the Human Security for All campaign, to see what the UN has not, and none of this is intended as a criticism of anybody, but it's intended to magnify the challenge we have, and that's what I'm trying to do, of communicating to the broader population that has to change not only lifestyles, but the decisions they're making in virtually every area of their life. And that was the challenge. And the first thing we did was, let me see if I can work this. We approached the consumer electronics industry that runs the Consumer Electronics Show every year in Las Vegas, which is the largest technology show in the world. The largest technology companies, businesses in the world that we all know and use, and many others, and said, what can you do? What do you think you can do as an industrial business organization to help spread the message that's relevant to every person on Earth about their own security? That means food security, health security, employment security, community security, political freedoms, and the individual security. And they said, well, we've never done anything like this in 50 years, but they finally decided to try, and they themed the 2023 Consumer Electronics Show on the theme of human security for all. And they spelled this out to a few thousand of the top leaders of the industry, and then covered 120,000 technology and business leaders in the industry on this, and they ran about 400 or 500 seminars, and everyone started with a 90-second messaging on this, on how important this is to companies in the industry who will be determining the impact of the work they're doing and the technologies they develop and the relevance of their activity for human security of all. And we came away very pleased by the amount of coverage they gave. It was calculated that they gave us about $2.5 million for coverage on an activity in which we spent about $20,000 or $25,000 of our own. But we had no idea what they felt about what the result was. And 2 months later, we had a conversation with them, and they said, we unanimously want to continue this messaging. The first time in 50 years, we thought of projecting a social message in this very important forum, but we now realize this is really essential for our members, and it's essential for the society. And there was almost an emotional commitment that we've got to do what we can do. We're not doing everything we can do to promote this. And from there, we went on and talked to parliamentarians, and now the Interparliamentary Union of 170 parliaments of the world has asked for training in how do we actually adjust our legislation to promote human security in all of these areas. And I'm giving this just as an example of the challenge we have. And with the help of Phoebe and leadership of Phoebe, we approached 140 national academies, science academies of the world, and asked them, don't you think that you also have, the academies have a responsibility for each of these areas? There's something more you can do. And the Inter-Academy Partnership agreed to take their #1 priority for messaging this year would be a message on the role of science and academies in promoting human security. Now, we all know that the climate scientists and many, all of you in the room, and many of the organizations and many leading corporations are committed to addressing climate change. But I think we all know that what's being done so far, even though it's unprecedented in the history of the world, it's not quite enough to capture the unprecedented challenges we face. I spoke to the European Conference, I'll take one more minute, European Conference of Public Health Workers a few weeks ago, where WHO says that climate is the single greatest threat to health in the world. #1 threat to health in the world is climate change. So I asked the public health workers, what are you doing to stop climate change? And the typical response was, well, that's the job of somebody else. Our job is to deal with the health problems that are generated. But the health workers have the highest level of trust and confidence of the public in the world. What we hear from the health workers has the highest level of confidence, and we can believe in it. So can we, I'm giving it as an example, are there other sections of the global society that we can mobilize to join the tremendous effort that's being taken by the organizations that are here and the governments at COP28? Because the challenge is so great that we've got to reach out with new innovative techniques, new innovative communication strategies. We need to mobilize the arts. We need to mobilize the cinema. We need to mobilize the artists, the writers. We need to mobilize every sector of the society in every discipline, not just in those concerned with economics and ecology and climate change, in every academic discipline to get this message through. Thank you.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Gary. Thank you very much for your contribution. I would like to then, as you spoke about human security, I would like to take it to happiness. We have Yogi Kochhar here, who is president of... So we are really tight on time. We need to rush it, like one green innovation will be timekeeping.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. So I'll play a short video of about 2 minutes, and then I'll finish whatever it is that I have to say in exactly 2 minutes. And that's about all that I'm here for. Thank you. Can we roll the video, please? Global warming has much less to do with the 1,210 private jets that land in Davos. It has more to do with the aggregate of carbon in our own minds. And it has more to do with the clothes in our wardrobes. Time was when mind was born out of vapor. Time is now when the mind has turned into vapor. And that happens because each one of us use a phone where our screen time is about 6 hours, that slices, dices, and tosses our attention spans, does not leave enough in our minds to be able to assimilate. That's the point I'm trying to make here. So we developed a technology, and I'm extremely grateful to Professor Phoebe for encouraging us there. That's what I'm trying to say, ladies and gentlemen. And this is just FOMO, fear of missing out, that's just driving us insane into the world of the web, you know, where two spiders mate and it says the female has the male spider for her food after an act of copulation. It's amazing. Our minds have been colonized. My technology that I've developed has now been approved by the government of India, and it is out to impact about 7 million young adults across all the colleges in the form of a compulsory credit course across all the higher educational institutions. So that's the small point that I wanted to make. I personally feel that the 6 hours that we use on the screen actually slices, dices, and tosses the mind, because the neurons are nothing, but they're just connecting and disconnecting. When they connect and disconnect, our proteins get exhausted. When our proteins get exhausted, there's not enough time to even breathe. You know, you lose your phone, you stop breathing. It's like you stop breathing. And that is the problem, ladies and gentlemen, that we need to address. So we created a technology that goes ahead and recovers your mind that you lose on the same phone, using the same phone. And that's the technology that then got us an award at the British Parliament. And then I was very, very grateful to Professor Phoebe to lend us her support and lend us our solidarity in our mission forward. Today, we've reached about 7 million students across in India, and I'm happy to be of service to any of you across any educational institution that would like to introduce the course there. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Yogi. Thank you very much. Let me now ask on stage Cecil from the Sustainable Development Solutions Network. We talked about happiness, mindset, behavioral change. What's your solution? 2 to 3 minutes.
Oh,
pitch.
goodness. I don't know how I can follow on Yogi here. You heard it also from Phoebe. As SDSN, we're very much focused on development, sustainable development, and problem solving is very much at the heart of what we're doing. And so innovation is an important aspect of that. Maybe if I can just single out to complement what others have said from my own area, and that's kind of policy innovation. So much focus is on technical innovation, but maybe on policy innovation to solve problems. One thing that we keep hearing more and more is a demand for simplification. And I would maybe say, maybe digitalization, and the promise of digitalization in many places is that it helps bringing solutions and decisions closer to people and communities, but also to simplify processes. Unfortunately, we hear it quite a lot that even though, for example, there's climate finance available, that in countries they find it very difficult to access financing. And even though scientists are talking about a business of usual approach that needs to end, I feel many of our organizations, many of our mechanisms for financing and development assistance are kind of stuck in a business as usual. And so I think this idea of how can we simplify, how can we accelerate and improve implementation, because innovation is not an end in itself, that's one of the promises of digitalization. And yes, indeed, to hark it all the way back to Phoebe's presentation at the beginning, we need a new generation with skills, with practical competences to help achieve that. So thank you so much for having us on the panel. Have a good day.
Thank you very much, Cecil. And now, before we have one final remark, because like it's something we really need to finally address, like the work of digitalization. Let me ask Ketan Patel, the CEO of Forest for Good, one very final thought on how to accelerate green innovation. You have also 40 seconds.
40 seconds, oh God. All right, very tight. But I mean, firstly, I'm privileged. I'm in the World Academy of Art and Science, and I'm also part of the SDSN network. So I am privileged to participate in both. And I'm a meditator, and I practice breathing yoga every day. So I have a link to everybody in some way who's spoken on the stage. I'd say this, actually. We're in a transition that will be potentially thwarted by war. And so the biggest accelerator would be to find peace. And so there is probably nobody much interested in climate change right now, because 24/7 all we see is a war. And before this war, we saw another war in Europe. And before that, there was the pandemic, which was a war at an individual level, killing so many people. And so, although this is a profound transition, where we let go of the addiction to fossil fuels and the lifestyle that it built, that was probably one of the most successful lifestyles ever built in human history, we are transitioning to something we hope is cleaner and safer and more secure for everybody, as we heard on human security for all, and is superior because of technology and AI. But potentially we will stop it by just waging war on ourselves. And so the most profound accelerator would be to find that peace. And that peace is, of course, global, but of course it's at a very individual level, as we heard earlier too. And so that's our challenge, I believe. The capital is there, the innovation is there. It's not getting unlocked, but that's a much bigger dialogue as to why it's not getting unlocked. And I think it's a dialogue we will have in the same venue sometime tomorrow with Jeffrey Sachs. Phoebe will be hosting too, and I look forward to participating and saying a little bit more. Thank you.
So, as I promised you, we have one final remarks. We need to steal 5 minutes because we lost 5 minutes in the beginning. Accelerate green innovation through digitalization. My absolute mentor, Dr. Xiao Hui, Vice President of European Public Affairs from Huawei. Where you have very little time, huh?
Yes. But before everyone leave, I still want to emphasize this important paper, which with the joint efforts and the leadership of Professor Phoebe, that gives us a very important thinking is, if we want to support the sustainable development of a society, we need to take the multiple action. One of the important element is to make sure our society obtain the skills, understand what kind of green digital skills, the twin skills our society needs from now on for the next decade towards 2050. So this is very crucial and important to make sure we are able to convert our words to actions. And also we see the potential of digital technology, the potential of the ICT play the key role. And we always believe this is, the sustainability is most importantly done through digitization. And also we need to unleash the potential to revolutionize the way we approach the environmental challenges. And also that really requires, everyone, particularly the big corporates like Huawei, to play a more important role than ever. And we are very proud to have the valuable panelists to give the speech. Also, we have the Ambassador Barbara to give a very insightful opening speech. And also with the paper we are working today, and we would call for your participation. We would call for your collaboration. And also eventually, we believe year by year and step by step, we are able to make the change. But another, maybe requirement specifically to Phoebe is potentially we need a dedicated lecture for this. So, And thanks again, for the friends, to join the event today. And I would like to, wish you enjoy the rest of the day, and more importantly, bring, the important messages, understanding back to your business, back to your industry, back to the whole ecosystem. Think about how we should work together, later on. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Let's deliver green digital skills and let's accelerate green innovation. Thank you very much for being